All of the boating action from the Agulhas is proudly brought to you by Africa Union Aviation Academy, Albertina Meubelvervoer, Infante Inflatables and Bergwip International. Welcome boating fans, we are in Mossel Bay in the heart of the Garden Route, South Africa for the start of the 2015-2016 Agulhas, the toughest inflatable boat race in the world. This is a one-of-a-kind race and it's held in South Africa every year. It's grown in stature and popularity amongst the international boating community. Just on 30 teams entering this year's Agulhas, and with so many teams on the water, safety plays a vital role. Andre Haynes has been involved with the Agulhas for more than 20 years. We caught up with him and asked him about the scrutineering process and why it was so vital to the event.
All the boats get scrutinized for safety reasons. They must have flares, an anchor. Everything we scrutinize is for the safety of the boat and the persons driving.
The boat is then signed off for having been scrutinized and the action can move on to the start of day one. We are in Plettenberg Bay, right next to the Beacon Isle Hotel. That's where the action's going to start from. We caught up with Tyler and Dusty Day to find out from them exactly what they were expecting on day one of the Agulhas.
The standard class is the biggest race, so got a new boat, new engine. I think we trained for it, so we're quite ready.
Coordination of the boats on the day, very important. Herman van Geems is the race OD for the event, taking the teams through the run of the day, and then it's time to start. It's a Lamar type start. The pilots start on the beach, they run to the boats while the co-pilots keep the boats ready and stable. Everybody's nerves on end here as the 2015-2016 Agulhas gets going. We go on board with M96 Eben de Bot Robertson Farmer Shirt meets. He's the son of former modified pilot Henny de Bot, who's taken part in this event for so many years. Henny, now retired, supports his son in the event. His co-pilot, of course, is Gerard Fernhout. We'll see how they'll be doing. One of the favorites in the event. Let's see how it turns out. Let's have a look at the route for day one. It's a long day. The first stretch sees them heading out to Nature's Valley. It's 9 beach stops in total, 189 kilometers. Day one has the most beach stops on the Agulhas, and as they head out to Nature's Valley, Eben de Bot Inferno stopping. The boat stays behind and gets the boat, turns around. Now this is where the co-pilot comes into play. He runs to the beach marker and then makes the turn, then heads back to the boat. In the past we have seen, especially on the long days, the co-pilots turning the boat and the pilot actually doing some of the running as well. Once the teams turn at Nature's Valley, they head all the way back to Plettenberg Bay, where they do a quick fueling beach stop as well. M44 Rusgenot Transport, the first boat to arrive. This is Dave Barnett and Chart Westhuizen, being pursued here by Eben de Bot and Gerard Fernhout. The Robertson Farmer Shirt meets boat in hot pursuit. Of course, Dave Barnett and Chart Westhuizen, having won this event so many times in the past, they know the route backwards as they practice on this route throughout the year. As the teams get to the beach stop at Plettenberg Bay, the co-pilot actually has to run to the beach. A rule that has been changed this year. The co-pilot is the only one allowed to get the fuel. Before they had team members allowing them to help them refuel at the refueling points. Now the co-pilot actually has to run to the boat and pick up the fuel bladder, take it to the boat, and only then can they leave. Once again, safety, very important and a major concern for organisers. So this is what the rest of the route looks like. Leaving Plettenberg Bay, we go past Swartvlei, Wilderness, Lentana, Grootbrak and then on to Kleinbrak. We pick up the action at Kleinbrak and a bit of a wind blowing as we catch the first of the modified boats arriving at Kleinbrak. The flat water really allowing the modified boats to open up the taps. Agri-Cells, Johan Lodewijks and Flippy Skuman, the first to arrive at Grootbrak. They were hotly pursued by Eben de Bot and Gerard Fernhout. Robertson Farmer Shirt meets. Dave Barnett a little bit off course here, going almost past the beach stop marker, coming in from the right hand side, reading the water a little bit differently, but they got there. The first blueprint to arrive at Kleinbrak was Imbuka's Lindeke and Ingram. This was Dreyer van Niekerk riding this year with his son JD. Co-pilots running around that beach marker. You might be asking yourself, why do they have to run around these beach markers? Why can't the boats just go straight to the finish? Well, every time a co-pilot runs around the beach marker, he's got to shout out the boat number. A race official then ticks off the boat, and any boats that haven't come through after a while, they know that boat is stuck somewhere on the route. So it's a little bit of control as well. The day one finish is at Mossel Bay. It was going to be a close call though. Johan Ludewijks and Flippy Skuman being the first to arrive in the Agricel Modified.
Well, it was nice, starting nice. The water was nice and flat. Just before Glentana, we started opening up and trying to pull a gap. It was bad. We battled a bit in the flat again. They were a bit quicker than us, but we managed the beach stops well and we pulled it through.
The first standard class boat will be Value Max's Peter Groenstein and Nicole Parr.
The block that we wanted to use for the Agulhas, for some reason it didn't want to perform. We went through everything and then we decided to put on our old block. It's not as strong as the Agulhas one that we're supposed to use, but it's performing good and we're happy with our performance today.
So great finish by Groenstein and Parr taking the standard class on day one. While in the modified class, it was Ludewijks and Flippy Skuman taking the modifieds, Stefan Lindeke and Tony Ingram dominating in the blueprints. With the day's long haul action being completed, a packed Santos Beach saw the surf racing getting on the way. This year the standard class was again by far the biggest competing class in the Agulhas. The standard class surf racing was broken down into 3 heats, and although they competed in fairly flat water, Dusty and Tyler Day managed to go over on the first beach marker. The heat was restarted. It was Albertina Meubelvervoers, Pierre and Philip Ndier that took the race by the scruff of the neck and led from the word go. While the Albertina Meubelvervoer boat was dominating at the front, Reniel Matthijssen, Confer Engineering and Isaac van der Vijver in Kulan Logistics were fighting it out for third place. The Viking 2 duo of Scarsella and Liebenberg were no newcomers to the Agulhas, holding on to 5th place overall. But it was a great finish for the Nordier brothers, Albertina Meubelvervoer taking a well-deserved first place in the first standard class heat. In the second standard class heat, it was Reinhold Becker and the Volvo boat that managed to get away first, but a big challenge coming here from Value Max's Peter Groenstein and Nicole Parr. Some contact between the two, and you can see some fists being wagged there. I don't think Becker was too happy with that move. While the rest assured duo of Niemand and Minnie was holding on to a valuable 4th place finish in their heat. Victory went to Value Max's Peter Groenstein and Nicole Parr, managing to hold off Reinhold Becker and Dani LaRue from CMH Volvo in Cape Town. In the standard novice class, newcomers to the Agulhas would fight it out for honours. Fastener Warehouse's LaRue and Phil Yoon would finish up in 2nd place. But it would be a win, a debut win as well for Michael and Zander van Geems. Arrow Underwriters, the yellow boat taking the victory in the standard novice class. In the blueprint class, it will be a great start for Dreyer van Niekerk and JD van Niekerk, giving Stefan Lindeke and Tony Ingram and the Imbuka Wines boat a good run for their money. Wimpy Ackerman and Whitey Lowe Imperial Cargo would fight their way back to 2nd place overall in the blueprint class, while Stefan Lindeke and Tony Ingram would go to the line, dominating the blueprint class, the Imbuka Wines duo claiming 1st place. Modified class will be a big fight between Eben de Bort and Johan Ludewijks. The Robertson Farmer Shirt Meets boat and the Agricel boat would fight it out for 1st place. Dave Barnett and Chad Westhuizen were holding on to 3rd place in the surf racing. The duo was being chased hard by Francois van Werk and Gert Goos, Marlow Trio Transport, trying to fight them off for 3rd place. In the end, the Robertson Farmer Shirt Meets duo of Eben de Bort and Gerard Fernout claiming 1st place, beating Johan Ludewijks and Flippy Skuman to the line. Michael and Zander van Geems claiming 1st place in the standard novice class. Well done to them. While in the blueprint class, it was Stefan Lindeke and Tony Ingram in Imbuka Wines claiming 1st place. So as we start up on day 2, we're down at Santos Beach. This is where the teams will be starting from. Wanted to know from the guys what they're expecting on day 2, as the conditions on day 1 was pretty flat.
Well, we expect a bit of wind just around the point. We hope for a bit of wind. The seas is much better in the wind, and we would like it to be a bit more rough, then we do a lot better. Yesterday we struggled a bit in the flat water, The oats with the other boats are a bit faster in flat water. As soon as we get a bit rough water, we catch up very fast.
So as the pilots head off to the boats and jump in, the co-pilots keep the boat steady. We go on board with M22 as Land Rover Cape Town's Wade Ball and Bobby Shaw. They had a lot of trouble on day one. They couldn't get their motors sorted. If they had to swap out the block, it would have cost them a lot of time and basically a day in the Agulhas. So we're heading to day 2. It's 2 stops on the 86-kilometer route today. We stop off at Vleesbaai and then Agulhas River mouth. It's a beautiful route as we make our way down to the Strand over 5 days, over 800 kilometers in an inflatable powerboat. We pick up the action at Agulhas River mouth. This is the second beach stop where the guys will be stopping. First to arrive, Wade Ball and Bobby Shaw. This young man was the SA Modified champion last year, and Johan Ludovics basically took the title from him. Although Wade Ball lost a lot of time on day 1, he is back in the race today. Of course, he's not in contention. He's lost too much time on the day. This is Agulhas River mouth. It's a very difficult beach stop. A lot of waves break almost on the sand. You can see they break almost at the boats, and it's a very dangerous beach to get out of. I've seen quite a few boats go over here in the past. It's a pretty short stage today, 86 kilometers, only 2 beach stops en route, so the teams are going to really decide how they want to go about the refueling strategy. It's one of the novice class boats coming through. The Printmore boat of Cobus Rousseau and Francois Fraser had a good finish yesterday. He came through in 4th place overall, but still a long way to go to Cape Town. Many of the teams know the real tough part of the Agulhas comes once we hit day 3. We said it's a fueling stop this, and now for the exit of Agulhas River mouth. This stop is a difficult one. The surf really forcing the pilots to be extra careful as they leave the beach stop. Agulhas River mouth, of course, the second stop on today's 86-kilometer route, and from Agulhas River mouth it's probably about 45 kilometers till we get to our destination, which is Stilbaai. That's where the race is finishing today, and a huge fight back coming from Rusgenot M44. It's Barnett and Westhuizen ahead of Wade Ball and Bobby Shaw, probably by about a boat length. The Rusgenot boat will take the honours, but a big fight between a standard class boat and a blueprint. It's Brent Oil against Albertina Meubel for food, and it looks like it's going to be the blueprint that just beats them.
The water was very rough. Well, it wasn't extremely rough, but we did have quite strong downwind conditions. We just set up for the downwind. We were down on the water early this morning, and it seemed to work out for us. We rode as hard as we could, and it worked out for us.
Well, what a fantastic finish for Albertina Meubel for food. The Nordier brothers being the first standard class to get to the beach and almost managing to beat Mark Gleed and Brent Oil, but the blueprint just getting in ahead of the standard class. As we head into the surf racing, the crowds always gather at Stilbaai for this one. First up, the blueprint class, and a great start by Stefan Lindeke and Tony Ingram and Buko Family Wines, getting off to a great start, being chased by the rest of the field. Ackerman having to play catch up in the Imperial cargo boat, but Ray van Niekerk not letting up. It was going to be a tough battle between the two all the way to the finish, and a big amount of egg from the Agri-Cell boat. That's what we told you about. It can be really, really dangerous out here at Stilbaai. Pilots really having their hands full in these surf conditions. Some real tough conditions on the day, but it was Stefan Lindeke and Tony Ingram keeping their noses clean and getting to the line first in the blueprint class. In the modified class, it was Johan Ludovics, the Agri-Cell boat, getting away ahead of Rusgenot's Dave Barnett. Now, a few years ago, Barnett flipped the boat here in the surf at this exact beach, and it cost him the Agulhas that year. Barnett not going to make a mistake. It was Johan Ludovics making a mistake, missing the turn for the final lap and going one extra, and it would cost him the modified class. Chad Westhuizen going through to take the win for the Rusgenot boat. This is the action with the standard novice class boats. In trouble for Stefan Leroux and Ben Viljoen, fast nowhere else. So Stefan Leroux being tossed out of the boat. It would cost them the heat. Michael van Geems and Zander van Geems going through to take the victory in the standard novice class. We go on board with Tyler and Dusty Day. You can see the conditions on the back line. As we head down the back line, Conferio Engineering, Matthijsen and Van Zyl. Oh, they had a close call there. But it would be Albertina Meubel for food. The Nordier brothers again taking honours in their heat. In the second of the standard class heat, it would be ValueMax's Peter Groenstein and Nicole Park claiming the victory. So it looks like the battle in the standard class was going to be between the Nordier brothers, Albertina Meubel for food, and ValueMax Peter Groenstein and Nicole Park. And a great finish in the surf for Dave Barnett and Chart Oosthuizen and managing to outsmart Johan Lodewijks and Flippy Skuman on the day. Your technical backup in the Transagulhas can make or break your team's effort. For the last few years, Dave Barnett and Chart Oosthuizen has relied on Mike Hamill from Team Boats and Bikes to take care of their rig. We asked Mike about the technical differences between the classes.
There's 3 disciplines, which is the standard class and then the pro stock class, which is the standard class is a standard production engine blueprinted with the rev limiter on, and the pro stock class is the same stock production engine blueprinted, rev limiter disconnected, and you can run aftermarket reeds, these over here, Boyson reeds like that. And then you've got the modified class, which is also has to be production motor, limited to 700 cc's. Well, not in the modified class. Modified class you can go up to 800 cc's, but you can't get that piston size to go in there. So yeah, it's basically the same thing. Production motor, 50 horsepower, and yeah, do whatever you want and stick to within the rules. There are certain rules that you're allowed to and have to stick by, but nothing really major.
So as we look at day 3's racing action, it's an early morning start for the teams. Stilbaai to Struisbaai. Let's have a look at that route map. 161 kilometers for today's stage. They go past Witstrand and Arniston. We spoke to Stefan Lindekie on day 3. Wanted to know from him what this day will hold.
Yes, I mean this third day is always a surprising day. You know, it's probably the most difficult day on the Agulhas, and yeah, it looks very challenging. But yeah, we're a little bit excited because things can go either way. You know, you can either make up a lot of time or you can lose a lot of time. So I think it's more nerves than excitement. But yeah, we're super happy with what we've set up this morning, and we're going to try and push hard and see what happens.
So as we leave Stilbaai, we now head 100 odd kilometers down the coast. The beautiful green-blue waters of this coastline mesmerizing from the air. Team X Farm making their way to very first beach stop. As we get on to Witstrand, this is M1, Johan Lodewijks and Flippy Skuman, the Agulhas boat, one of the very first modifieds to arrive at Witstrand. They'll be taking on fuel here as well. But trouble en route for Team Umbuko. A broken throttle cable would set them back. They would be stuck in the middle of the ocean. They would get going again, but it's going to cost them time and possibly the lead in the blueprint class. Johan Lodewijks couldn't put a foot wrong though. The Agri-Cell boat taking the lead in the modified class, arriving first at Struisbaai.
Yeah, all's coming together now. It's been a while. We got the first stage, we won, and then yesterday we were third. I believe some of the other mods are picked up some problems, so we put us pretty much a little bit ahead now, and we're just going to keep our calm to get to Cape Town.
But more drama in the blueprint class, although the Brent Oil boat would take honours on the day, finishing first. Wimpy Ackerman had trouble on the way.
I knew we were ahead of Stefan when we got to Witstrand, but we were actually first at Arniston, and when we went from Arniston through Section Reef, we overturned the boat in the reef, but luckily we could get the motor dry in time.
So as the results go on the long haul then, it was a pretty good run. Ruben Scholz and Luhan Kuhn, the Premier Line and Oil Gas boat, taking the win in the novice class, while Mark Lead and Wildnas Leuwener took it in the Brent Oil boat for the blueprints. So as we head into day 3 surf action, keep in mind the times for the surf race are added to the long haul, so a bad performance in the surf race can affect your time on day 1, especially if it was a close finish with a few seconds. Big challenge between Dreyer van Niekerk and Wimpy Ackerman. Van Niekerk always in there. Although Lindekie did have trouble in the long haul today, he made a clean sweep in the surf. Another win goes to Umbuko Wines. In the standard novice class, a great ride by Ruben Scholz and Luhan Kuhn, the Premier Line Oil and Gas duo, giving the Van Geems brothers a great run for their money. And a big stumble at the end though. It would be the Arrow duo that would take the win in the standard novice class. Albertina Meubelvervoerspier and Philip Nordeer proved to be a big thorn in the side of Peter Groenstein and Nicole Paan. They could be a threat as far as the overall position is concerned in the standard class, and they didn't disappoint in the surf racing either, taking their heat with ease. As we headed into the last standard class heat of the day, great start by Team Volvo. Becker and LaRue off to a thundering start. They led for most of the way, being chased by Robertson, Toyota, Streicher and Swart. Coming to the line, it would be LaRue. All he's got to do is run to the line, and he stumbles and falls, and I think Swart's going to take the victory. It means Robertson, Toyota takes the surf heat. In the modified class, though, no mistakes by Johan Lodewijks, taking his heat with ease and stamping his authority on that race. Great finish, though, for Michael and Zander van Gims. Arrow underlighting, claiming yet another of the surf heats. While in the blueprint class, Stefan Lindeke and Tony Ingram taking the win in the Mbuko Wines boat. All that was left to do at Strathspey was the night race. Many of the teams not knowing what to do or what to expect, but many had competed here before, and it was a bit of a relief.
Well, last year we were very sketchy about the night race, but it was the most fun of the whole Agulhas. So here the route has changed a bit, but otherwise looking forward to it. I can see the sea's a bit better, so we're quite keen to do it. Boat's fine, everything's ready to go.
Briefing for all the pilots, very important that everybody knows the do's and don'ts, and then it was off for the night race. It was a quick ride along the coast, and then pilots and teams would get a good night's rest before we head off onto day 4. But as we start on day 4, a race delay due to some low-lying mist in the area.
This morning a little bit of mist, and I'm just waiting for the plane to confirm if they can get airborne, and the moment they get airborne we will start the race. We're supposed to start at 8 o'clock. I don't think we'll be able to start at 8 o'clock. So yeah, the moment the plane is airborne, then we will start the race.
Organisers, race and safety officials rely greatly on the eye in the sky, and this is where Africa Union Aviation Academy comes into play, as they offered air support during this year's Trans-Agulhas.
Right, well, firstly we'd be up at 5 o'clock in the morning and either had a nice fresh shower, and then we went out, did our pre-flight, and waited for the boats and the signal from the marshallers to say to us, listen, within 5 minutes we want you overhead. And once we flew overhead, then the boats would go off and the gun would shoot, and then we were on our way, and it would be very early in the mornings. Well, I think that being a pilot and flying the aircraft meant that we'd be up there with the winners or the forerunners, and then we'd hear from the recce, the boat that they were using, which was called the Hurricane. We'd communicate with them, and then we'd have to go back to the bottom line and right to the back and see who was there, how many boats had tipped over, how many guys had been flung out their boats. To get in touch with the actual boats, we'd waggle our wings, and then the Hurricane would follow us to the boats which were in a difficult position.
Apart from being part of the Trans-Agulhas, what was his team's role in aviation in South Africa?
Our role in aviation is to target mainly the historically disadvantaged people of not only the Northwest but also of South Africa, and especially young black ladies, because they haven't had any real opportunity to be able to learn aviation. And I think it's a wonderful venue that we're very grateful to be part of an aviation academy where we're completely committed to skills development.
So then let's have a look at the route today. Strathspey to Gansbaai, 101 kilometers. We go past the Damme, Pearly Beach, Eilkraals, Mortis. We head on to Gansbaai. The race starting in pretty clear conditions on board with Varnie Oosthuizen and Henk van der Speyer, Albertina Meubel for the food. And then the misty conditions would set in, and it would cause a lot of confusion amongst the teams. They couldn't go too fast because you don't want to get lost out at the open sea. The beach stop at Pearly Beach, usually some big waves here. A lot of people on the beach waiting for the boats to arrive. From here, it's going to be a short run around to Eilkraals Mont. That was where they were going to stop for the surf racing on the day. And a great finish. Peter Groenstein and Nicole Parr, the Value Max boat, coming through first. The first boat to reach Eilkraals Mont. Marshmallow Pops at Weyer and JD van Niekerk not far behind in their blueprint, and a great run on the day. M44, Lusgenol Transport, this is Dave Barnett and Chart Oosthuizen claiming the victory for the modifieds. Surf racing at Eilkraals Mont was going to be a choppy affair, and the crowds were already gathering to see the action. The Brimble boat on Rousseau and Fraser got off to a good start, but it was Scott and Koen in the Premier Line oil and gas boat that managed to claim a win and close the gap down to their challenge for first place. Although the ValueMax duo of Peter Groenstein and Nicole Parr managed to claim their heat, the overall victory in the surf racing would go to Pierre and Philip Rodia. Albertina Meubelvervoer getting a slightly better time in their finish of the surf heat. After technical issues on day 3, the Mbuka Wands duo of Lindeke and Ingram were way back in the field, losing some time due to a throttle cable that broke. Wimpy Ackerman was challenging for first place and being put under pressure by Dreyer van Niekerk, but the surf race would go the way of Lindeke and Ingram, taking a win in the surf. Lodewijks and Flippy Skuman and the Agri-Cell boat managing to extend their lead in the modified class. I don't think anybody's going to catch them before they hit the strand. It was a great finish in the standard class though. The Noordea brothers getting together a great finish. Albertina Meubelvervoer managing to beat Groenstein to the line by a few seconds. While in the modified class, Eben de Bort and Gerard Verno, Robertson Farmer Sjoerd Meads chasing down Johan Lodewijks, but I think it's almost all over. The camp terrain at Gansbaai, a hive of activity. The boats were attended to, making sure they were in order for the last stage. The campfires were burning, the ladies were preparing the last lunches, and some of the pilots were having their bruises attended to.
As on the first day, I fell a muscle bar, I got flung out of the boat and the nose cone hit me. So I got quite a bad bruise, which he's just trying to relieve a bit for me. But yeah, it's the 4th day now and finished the 4th day and still 1 day to go. So.
Francois van Beek and the Marlow Trio transports one of the old stalwarts of the Transagulhas. They've been doing this event for quite a few years. It's day 5. We go from Gansbaai to the Strand. It's not a particularly long day, only 130 kilometers, but you can't afford a breakdown on this day. We're heading to Uilkraalsmond with Varney Westhuizen and Henk van der Spey. Albertina Meubelvervoer boat getting ready for their beach stop to take on fuel for that last stretch home. Would be the last beach stop of the Transagulhas. From then they just go past Gordons Bay, the harbour wall. They get ticked off as they go by, and then it's onward to Strand for the finish. Although they wouldn't take the honours on the line this year, a great finish by Barnett and Chad Westhuizen. Risgenot taking the first boat through on the day. Second boat through, Brent Oil. Mark Lead having a fantastic run in his outfit this year. He's put in a lot of effort. It really has paid off. And then ValueMax's Groenstein and Nicole Parr coming through in 3rd place. And here's the man everybody was waiting for, Johan Lodewijks, Team Agri-Cell taking the overall victory.
Training was hard, preparation went well, and we touched wood, had no hiccups in 5 days. The motor ran good, the boat was good. Yeah, it all worked out well.
The surf racing wouldn't change much to the overall results though. A good finish by Stefan Leroux and Ben Viljoen. Fastener Warehouse taking the overall novice class. While this year, Wimpy Ackerman and Whitey Lowe once again claiming the blueprint class in the Imperial Cargo boat. With the long haul concluded, the surf racing was a mere formality, entertaining the thousands of people coming to the beach at the Strand on New Year's Day. That concludes all of the coverage from the 2015-2016 Transagulhas boat adventure. We hope to catch you again next year as we take another long journey from Plettenberg Bay to the Strand. Till then, stay safe on the water. All of the action from the Transagulhas is proudly brought to you by Africa Union Aviation Academy, Albertina Meubelvervoer, Infanta Inflatables and Bergwip International.